So a lot of you may have heard that the United States government, on orders from Trump, has been doing stuff in the Caribbean with Venezuelan ships. But you might not realize that the stuff is just outright piracy, and that this is just the first step in a larger plan to go to war with Venezuela. First, the piracy. It started with Trump outright lying, claiming that Venezuela was a narco-state, and that these small fishing boats that were just, fishing off the coast of Venezuela were actually packed full of illegal drugs, and that Venezuelan President Maduro was using drugs to fund his international terrorist campaigns. That was a lie, a bald-faced lie. No drugs have ever been found in the wreckage of any of these boats, and Maduro has no ties to so-called terrorism. In reality, the U.S. has been acting like the terrorists. They have been straight-up missile-striking these fishing boats with over 100 people killed. People going out to get food to feed their communities are being slaughtered in illegal airstrikes that constitute war crimes under international law. But that's not all. As of writing this, the U.S. government has publicly acknowledged the seizure of 3 Venezuelan oil tankers, although the Venezuelan government claims the U.S. hijacked way more. Given the U.S.'s track record with the truth, I think we can safely assume it's far more than 3 at this point. The U.S. says those tankers are being used to export sanctioned oil, but here's the thing. The sanctions the U.S. is unilaterally imposing on Venezuela are illegal. So someone please tell me, how is ignoring illegal sanctions a crime? The sanctions are very clearly aimed at weakening the Maduro government in Venezuela. The Trump regime has been very vocal about this. They want control of Venezuela's oil and are willing to bomb and board ships and steal the property of another state. That is piracy. They have become literal pirates of the Caribbean. That's not even the scariest part, because all of this sounds very, very familiar to anyone over the age of 40. I'm 34. I already know what it sounds like. In the run-up to the invasion of Iraq in 2003, the Bush regime had imposed crippling sanctions on Iraq, going back to even the Clinton regime, lied about Iraq's ties to international terrorism and al-Qaeda, the most infamous terrorist organization at the time, lied about the Iraqi government possessing weapons of mass destruction, or WMDs, did all this in order to justify an invasion of Iraq that saw millions of Iraqi citizens killed, hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops killed or wounded, billions of dollars spent on an occupation that left the country of Iraq in ruins and chaos, all in order to get control of what? You guessed it, Iraqi oil. Iraqi oil. I want to make sure I say it right. So it's very obvious that the Trump regime is simply repeating the playbook from 2003. It worked then, maybe it'll work now, but there's a key difference. We know how Iraq turned out, and we know Trump is lying just like Bush lied. So we can and must organize to stop it. Mass protests stopped the U.S. war in Vietnam. Mass protests could have stopped the tragedy of the Second Iraq War in the 2000s. Mass protests can stop the tragedy from repeating in Venezuela. The Communist Party of the USA is calling on the American people to put a stop to their government's piracy and terrorism. Please join us, CPUSA, and I speak on behalf of CPUSA Milwaukee. Thank you.